And I'd like to time it so I know how long it takes. And there's no real variation. I do have cutoffs for different people, for different characters, but none of it's really essential. First fact, punk song, edited by Jerome Poynton, February 2017, for May 4th, 2017, Athens, Greece. This is from Charles Olson's Call Me Ishmael and Donna Tucker's piece called Punk Song. Herman Melville was born in New York, August 1st, 1819. On the 12th of that month, the Essex, a well-found whaler of 238 tons, sailed from Nantucket with George Polly Jr. as captain, Owen Chase and Matthew Joy mates. 6 of her complement of 20 men, Negroes, bound for the Pacific Ocean, victualled and provided for 2 years and a half. A year and 3 months later, on November 20th, 1820, just south of the equator in longitude 119 west, this ship, on a calm day, with the sun at ease, was struck twice, head-on by a bull whale, a spermaceti, about 85 feet long, and with her bows stoved in, filled and sank. Her 20 men set out in 3 open whaleboats for the coast of South America, 2,000 miles away. They had bread, 200 pounds a boat, water, 65 gallons, and some Galapagos turtles. Although they were no great distance from Tahiti, they were ignorant of the temper of the natives and feared cannibalism. Entering the multi-tiered cell block 2 of the District of Columbia Jail on the afternoon of August 21, 1973, I was placed by myself in a 2-man cell on the second tier, next to the last, away from the guard's position at the entrance to the block, and locked in. Many prisoners were out in the block, and a number of them stopped by my cell for a look at the new white boy. One of them was a fellow who called himself Baseball, and looked to be about 19 or 20. We chatted briefly. He offered me what he said was LSD, but I declined. While walking around the floor, I was approached by one of the men who asked me what I was arrested for. Was I a pacifist? Receiving an affirmative answer, he told me that somebody wanted to talk to me and was waiting in his cell. I was eager to discuss the White House action and Quaker principles, so I followed him off the floor into the farthest cell on the first tier. Entering the cell, I found several men already there. Several more came in right after me, so there was not much room. One of them was Baseball. Immediately, I was ordered to take my pants off. Like hell, said I, but my avenue of retreat was completely blocked. Are you going to cooperate, or do we got to get rough? At this I was seized, and my head was banged against the metal railing of the top bunk several times. I was placed on the toilet bowl in the far corner of the cell. If you bite anybody, or if you say one word about this to the man, you'll be dead. There ain't no place in this motherfucking jail we can't get to you. So you better do what you're told. The first extreme suffering commenced a week later when they made the mistake of eating in order to make their supply last. Some bread, which had got soaked by the sea's wash. I'm going to turn this light on so I can read.
Should I do that?
No, it's okay. Yeah, right here. Their first extreme suffering commenced a week later when they made the mistake of eating in order to make their supply last some bread which had got soaked by the sea's wash. To alleviate the thirst which followed, they killed turtle for its blood. The sight revolted the stomachs of the men. In the first weeks of December, their lips began to crack and swell, and the glutinous saliva collected in the mouth, intolerable to the taste. Their bodies commenced to waste away and possessed so little strength they had to assist each other in performing some of the body's weakest functions. Barnacles collected on the side of the boat's bottoms and they tore them off for food. A few flying fish struck their sails, fell into the boats, and were swallowed raw. I have lost any recollection of chronology from this point on until about 10 p.m. A pattern had developed which I would be moved down one cell about every 5 guys. Baseball and a partner were collecting packs of cigarettes from the men. There was a wide variety of behavior among the men. A few were deliberately trying to hurt me. One even told me, "Your ass belongs to the black man and don't you ever forget it." Others were relatively gentle. A surprising number of the men were doing things like kissing the back of my neck and calling me by various girls' names or whispering tenderly in my ear. These men, as often and not, stayed in me a while after climaxing, and I came to welcome this as a relief from the interminable thrusting and hurt. I came to associate the feeling of a relaxed body covering me after his coming as a kind of protection from the next guy in line. That association has remained with me. For the 3 boats with the 17 men divided among them moved under the sun across ocean together until the 12th of January, when during the night the boat under the command of Owen Chase, first mate, became separated from the other 2. After lock-in and the count, the guy on the top bunk came down and crawled on top of me. I begged him not to do it, telling him how painful it was. He said he would be real quick about it because he didn't want me to hurt, and he was. After he finished, he lay on top of me for a long time, and I was very conscious of his body warmth. He had his arms around me and was licking my ears and stuff. He said he knew it was rough what I had gone through, but that it was only the first day that it would be like that. At some point, I completely surrendered my body to the rapist and discovered that in some strange way, though all the pain and despite all the fear, it was utterly relaxing. But most of my feelings from that day have been wiped from my conscious memory. Already, one of the 17 had died, Matthew Joyce, second mate. He was buried January 10th. when Charles Shorter, Negro, out of the same boat as Joy, died on January 22nd, his body was shared among the men of that boat and the captains and eaten. Again, 2 days, Isaac Shepherd, Negro, died and was eaten. The bodies were roasted to dryness by means of fires kindled on the ballast sand at the bottom of the boats. 2 days later, the 29th, during the night, the boat which had been Matthew Joy's got separated from the captain's and was never heard of again. The next day I returned to my own cell in the morning and stayed there. Baseball insisted I eat with him, but there was no conversation. My main feeling was relief that it was over and done with. One guy stopped me on my way to my cell and said he'd like to fuck me, but didn't approve of rape. I told him I wasn't about to volunteer, and he turned away disappointed. At indoor recreation that evening, I was in my cell writing a letter when Baseball and his friends came in, and it started over again, this time in my own cell. About 10 p.m., my assailants had relaxed their vigilance enough so that the door was not blocked. One of the lookouts said, "Hey, the man's watching." At this, I dove head first out the cell door, picked myself up, and ran like hell down the catwalk to the end, where I collapsed in tears and was pulled out by the guard. I had been fucked about 60 times in 2 days of rape. There were 2 guards. They asked me how I had come to be there in cell block 2. I told them the story of Captain Cobb and the transfer. "You were set up," one of them said to me. Joy's boat disappeared. When Joy's boat disappeared, 3 men still lived: William Bond, Negro, Obed Hendricks, and Joseph West. I wondered since if any female rape victim had ever been told they couldn't be raped because they were heterosexual. In the captain's boat, now alone on the sea, 4 men kept on. The 5th, Samuel Reed, Negro, had been eaten for strength at his death the day before. Within 3 days, these 4 men, calculating the miles they had to go, decided to draw lots. One to choose who should die, that the others might live, and one to choose who should kill him. The youngest, Owen Coffin, serving on his first voyage as a cabin boy to learn his family's trade, lost. It became the duty of Charles Ramsdell, also of Nantucket, to shoot him. He did. He, the captain, and Brasilia Ray, Nantucket, ate him. That was February 1st, 1821. On the 11th, Ray died himself and was eaten. On February 23rd, the captain and Ramsdell were picked up by the Nantucket whale ship Dauphine. Captain Zemery Coffin. In late 1976, while traveling, I stopped over at a motel in a small town near a U.S. Marine Corps base. A parking lot that at 1 a.m. seemed deserted enough to take a piss in proved to be staked out by the local cops, who arrested me, searched my motel room, found the dread marijuana weed, and charged me with possession of same. I was delivered to the county jail. There I was placed in a small cell block, 4 rooms of 4 bunks each. The cells had no doors, only the block entrance was locked. facing a corridor. The block contained a dozen prisoners, 4 white Marines and 8 blacks, of whom 6 were Marines. Identifying myself as a former enlisted Navy man, I was greeted with the recitation of what the Marines claimed was the well-known fact that all sailors suck dick, followed by a demand for a demonstration. One of the Marines, Dan, a 19-year-old Californian with blue eyes and blonde hair, related to me more than the others did. Dan also liked to read, usually westerns, sitting on his bunk, with me stretched out in his bunk, with my head on his lap, whereupon he would casually stroke my hair like one would a cat. In a word, he was not only friendly like the other 3, but also affectionate. He explained that he treated his girlfriend the same way back home. This experience was a critical turning point in my life. Instead of contempt, I found not only warmth, but real affection. I was guarded and protected night and day by 4 strong Marines, greater physical security than I had ever known in life. I was so grateful to these 4 lads that I decided to accept my role